Hello and welcome to No Veto Video. I'm Carson.
I'm Katherine. We're happy to have you back with us with our, what seems like now monthly installment of No Veto Video. This week, or month, this time we're responding to the movie Destination Wedding, made for and available on Amazon Prime. Was released this year in 2018. Written and directed by Victor Levin, and stars Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, and that's it.
Yes, there were a lot of supporting, but
nobody else had a line.
Nope.
Very cheap.
Destination Wedding follows the mishaps of two people who have a rough start, a rough middle, and ultimately have a rough but sort of happy end at a mutual relative or acquaintance's wedding.
So, I love this cast. I like Winona Ryder and I like Keanu Reeves, and I like them together. They work together quite a bit. And I like them both as romantic leads, and we'll get into that in a little bit more. So when I saw the premiere of this and sort of saw that they were both playing like misanthropes and they were going to be together at a destination wedding, and the way that the trailer was cut, I was like, oh, this looks like sardonic fun. Like, we'll watch this. Yeah, so that's why this movie, why now? It just came out, and thought, well, why not check it out?
While we were watching it, I came up with a number of nicknames depending where in the movie we were. While you were whining, while we were fighting.
Yeah, and I think we need to say, like, your depth of knowledge of the genre romantic comedy is not huge. Like, it's not long or deep.
Maybe not deep, but I've seen a number of them. Parts of this movie, though, felt painful. The only other one where I've really experienced this, and I know you did too, was The Wedding Singer, where a couple of scenes just like, what are you doing? But for the most part, this movie flowed really well, didn't have a lot of cringeworthy areas where you're just like, oh god, I can't watch.
I disagree.
You think it had a lot more of them?
I do. I thought there were so many cringe moments that I had to watch part of this movie through my fingers, like it was a horror movie. I don't enjoy cringe comedy, and so there was lots to not enjoy about this particular film, despite how lovely certain elements of it were. But if you enjoy watching No Veto Video, if this is like how you enjoy seeing people talk to each other, like mostly talking to someone else, you're gonna love this film. Like, this is, like, we happen to watch a monitor while we're recording, which may be why we don't always look at the camera as much as we ought to. But, like, see, look, Carson, look at how we're talking right now.
Yes.
Like, would you not say that this is a good stand-in for, like, the vast majority of the shots in this film? It turns out that we might be Hollywood-ready cinematographers.
Well,
I think there are actually a few moments in this film wherein either the director or the cinematographer or someone said, if we don't take a shot of the, like, setting where we are, like, you know, maybe their tax credit was at, you know, jeopardy or something, because every once in a while the film will break away and sort of pan across the landscape. And I found those moments so lovely. In part because it was a break from the two characters. And also I think there is this sort of critique of the characters in the moments when, you're sort of taking a break and you're just looking across the, rolling hills, vineyards, and the, valley.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my thought.
Thinking about what you had said with regards to there being a number of cringe moments, it's possible that you and I just have multiple layers of cringe, and I have cringe and, oh, I don't know why you're doing that, but it's not making me cringe.
Maybe. I think if you're coming into this film because you think the characters are going to have sort of a rapid change of heart, I'd say don't hold your breath. Whatever arc there is very natural in that think about people you've known in your life who are unhappy. They may be unhappy for all kinds of reasons. They maybe had traumatic childhoods or bad relationships with their parents, or maybe life just didn't work out for them the way that they hoped, but they're unhappy now.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just gonna rapidly become happy people. Like, they're not gonna just all of a sudden, or the people who've had damaging relationships that you know in your life, they're not suddenly gonna know how to pull off a successful relationship just because something happened on a good weekend. And I think they kind of are honest with that.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I think that the characters get right in their arc is just how very naturalistic it is. Like, these are unpleasant people, and even when they're having sex, like, there's no Hollywood kind of glamour to the moment. There's a lot of, like trying to maneuver bodies and, like, a lot of, oh, okay, like, very just, like I said to you, like, this is what normal people look like having sex. Like, except that they're, like, physically, they're both lovely people. Like, they are above average specimens of the species. But apart from that, everything else was like, yeah, that's probably what it's like.
Until you just brought it up, at the beginning of the video, I didn't realize there were no other speaking lines besides just the ones that Keanu and Winona had. That seemed really surprising. There was like a murmur of, rhinoceros, or whatever that people say, but you're right, there was no interaction except for between those two characters. And
we see them go off and interact with other people, but there's not like we follow them into other conversations. Mm-hmm. The only conversations we observe are between these two people. Mm-hmm. So,
very minimalistic in that regard.
Yes. So the subtitle of this film is The Narcissist Can't Die Because Then the World Would End.
Seems rather fitting.
Right? And so, yes, I think if we sold it that way instead of Destination Wedding, which kind of has this sort of rom-com, like, patina to it, mm-hmm. we would have maybe been going into it with our eyes a little bit wider open. So that is my gift to you.
All of that being said, there were some extremely funny moments.
Sure. The question is are the funny moments enough for you to balance out the parts that are disappointing?
I think if you fast forward through a few of the scenes, it probably would be.
See, for me, taking the piece of work in toto, mm-hmm. It's not. It's not an unsuccessful film. We've seen some movies here that I say to you, like, please, human beings, do anything but watch this. That's not what I'm saying this time. But I am saying, like, ultimately, this is a pass from me. But I can see how lots of people might enjoy this film. Sometimes we watch something and it's so bad I have no idea how people enjoy it. But in this case, I say, if this is your thing, if this is what you like, Like,
Yeah.
you can do worse than this. This is fine. These are two. I guess it's because I think they're both kind of working against charm. Like, they're both charming actors. I mean, they can both do this particular shtick. They've done it in other films. What's interesting to me is the difference in physicality. They're both distrustful misanthrope types, but Keanu Reeves channels that into a stillness. Like, the man hardly moves. Like, barely at all.
Yeah.
Except when he's trying to clear his sinuses. And then...
Even then, he didn't move a whole lot.
Everything Winona Ryder does is like 17 more movements than what it is she's trying to... Like, watching them work their rolling luggage, for example, is just sort of a masterclass in embodying characters. So that's kind of fun. So I enjoy that too. That's fine. The movie is pretty flat, though, like, as far as visually. Like, visually speaking, there's not a lot of dynamic cuts or edits or, you know... I mentioned those couple of pans across the landscape, but that's really kind of it as far as something pretty to look at. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
There's a few places in the movie where, besides just the misanthropy appearing, just hatred of life in general, like the scene with the wine and he's angry because there's screw top bottles, and although he does admit that maybe it's just something that he has not learned to appreciate, which for Keanu Reeves' character Frank, that's actually a big step forward, but it just felt kind of extraneous to the movie.
I think in that point he's having this dialogue to attempt to not have dialogue that somebody else is asking him to have. So. But
it's clear that he's still engaging in that also, because every third or fourth statement she makes, he responds to.
It's kind of like Facebook. You say, I'm not going to engage in the comment section, and yet you find yourself, several
drawn
hours
back
later.
into it. Yeah. Yeah. And that conversation was ultimately important for some of the things that happened later. Do you have any final thoughts?
So I think this is, like, ultimately, it's in a genre of romantic comedy wherein the characters are difficult people. It's like akin to the screwball comedy, like where there's not a like immediate connection between the characters, and there's lots of But I think the writer kind of got carried away here and failed to hit some of the beats that makes this genre successful. I mean, maybe that was the intention all along, but what this ends up being is, oh, you know what? It's like Sideways. You know, like how those people are just never really happy, and there's a lot of wine drinking going on. Anyway, so I think it ends up being a different kind of movie, and with all of the genre trappings of a different genre, and so you end up having this sort of cognitive dissonance, which for me ultimately led me to not enjoy this film as much as maybe I would have if I had gone in saying, like, oh, it's like a two-person Sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any last thoughts for you?
I keep thinking there's got to be a way to fix the movie, but I'm not sure how and still be able to tell the same story.
I think you just, I don't know.
Because there was no problem with the editing, really. There was... the direction was good. The actors were phenomenal in their portrayal of the characters that they were given.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you would fix the problems that we have with it and still end up with the vision that was, trying to come across. And maybe it's just not a vision that you and I particularly cared to see.
Like, I think gentle viewers, you all know that we're both people who can be a little sardonic at times. And yet we're also in a relationship together, and our relationship has lasted the test of many years, and some of that's inertia, and some of that is genuine affection. But I think there's sort of this point at which I was like, these people are idiots. Like, not only, like, their sarcasm, their distrust of the world, their lack of wonder, their lack of imagination, their lack of, like, human characteristics. These people aren't smarter than the rest of us by opting out of affection and relationship and connection with one another. Not just with one another, like, on a romantic level, but with anybody. Like, with anyone in the world that they could have any kind of relationship with. These people are morons. Like, this is one of those key defining human characteristics that's really important and is not, like, able to be substituted for. And they've just sort of walked away from the game. It's like, that's not smart. That's not something that you go like, oh, well, here's characters that we should emulate.
Yeah.
That's stupid. So yeah, and I don't think there's enough critique of the characters in the film for me to feel like that the filmmaker sees it my way, which is not necessarily like a thing that you have to do, but in this case, I kind of get the sense that the filmmaker is like, this is a way, like, you could do this, like, and there's kind of a neutrality about it. I just find that distasteful.
I will say that Winona Ryder's character, Lindsay, seems to be a lot less far gone than Frank in that regard. She seems much more open to having various relationships with people. She just isn't really trusting of those people or relationships, but still tries to create them.
Yeah. Basically what Carson and I are saying is, we hope you'll dance. Alright, so that brings us, I think, to... Commenting
below.
It's Carson's turn to talk.
Yes. If you think we just completely missed the point of this movie, let us know down below. Or if you also hate it, but for different reasons. In fairness, we don't hate the movie. I think it was a very successful movie for something that we just didn't
Not
really...
Not our cup of tea.
Yeah. But let us know that...
White Zen people.
Yes.
And this was a stanky Merlot.
If you want to critique our wine choices, tell us down below.
Don't add us. But if you want to send us wine, I suppose we'd give it a whirl. Do also hit the subscribe and the notification so that you'll know when we get ourselves around to making a new episode of this. This now brings us to the override section of No Veto Video. And I think today we are both vetoing. So I know I'm vetoing. I'm going to suggest some things to watch in place of this. So our veto override is suggestion of a film to watch in place of or alongside the film that we've been talking about that maybe you might want to check out as well. So with that in mind, Carson, what do you got?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, while watching this, I came up with, while you were whining, while we were fighting, the natural progression is just skip this movie altogether and watch while you were sleeping. It's got some of the same character dynamic in it. There's a lot less cringe in it. There's a little bit, but not...
Wait, what's a romantic comedy without a little cringe?
And most of that I found was at the beginning of that movie. So once you get past that, it's mostly smooth sailing, mostly. But you still have a horrible person in there, if that's really what you want. But they don't focus on them. They're only there for a little bit. So, yeah, bypass this and just watch while you were sleeping.
All right. So I have two. I'm cheating this week. If this is something that you might like, but maybe you want a different version of it, maybe if this is a Keanu Reeves you like, but you want a different version of it, I suggest you check out the film Much Ado About Nothing, the staging of the William Shakespeare play. Not the one that Joss Whedon did with Nathan Fillion and et al., but the one that was earlier that has Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson and Michael Keaton in it, and our friend Keanu Reeves playing a misanthrope. He plays the Duke's brother, Don John. Anyway, so check that out. I think some of the same delivery that I felt like when he was really hitting his stride here with his complaints about the human condition really reminded me of his delivery of lines in Much Ado About Nothing, so I think you might enjoy that. And it has one of those bickering couples that makes good in the Benedict and Beatrice characters. And they're Branagh and Thompson, and you really can't do better than that. This is when they were still together, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, okay, so my second one, if what you liked about this film most was when they cut away from the awful human beings and looked at the vineyards, then may I suggest to you what I think this film kind of, from a visual standpoint, was trying to evoke. An earlier Keanu Reeves movie called A Walk in the Clouds. Which is just straight up lovely romantic comedy. Not romantic comedy, just a romance. It's just a romance. There's not much comedy in it. Starring Keanu Reeves with Anthony Quinn in one of his last roles. A whole lot of other people. Huge cast in this one. Lots of talking people, not just two. But yeah, I skip this film, watch either of those two. Watch them both. Watch while you were sleeping. Watch something else. Sit down and have a cup of tea and contemplate what we owe one another.
If you just want to watch angry Keanu Reeves, watch John Wick.
No. I don't watch. If you want to watch this particular kind of angry Keanu Reeves, watch Much Ado About Nothing. All right.
Next time on No Veto Video, we'll be watching Elf in celebration and preparation for Christmas.
All right. So I think that is available to rent or own on the places where one can rent and own videos. May be available from your library. May be available in Redbox. We don't know. Gonna ask you to kind of dig deep here. Neither Carson nor I have ever seen this film.
Yeah. Google gave it to us free several years ago for some mysterious reason.
Didn't watch it even then.
Yeah, and we still haven't watched it, so.
Still. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We've enjoyed chatting with you about this film, warts and all. So have a great week. Bye.
Bye.